Well, welcome to Stolzer & Sons Gunsmithing. My name is Colin Stolzer. I'm about to start a major project for my shop, something that really has never been done before in history. I had a customer commission me to build a single-shot 2-bore cartridge gun, Jones Underlever style, about 2 years ago, and that gun was featured in Guns and Ammo magazine. It's been seen a lot on the internet and on my website as well, and had a lot of really positive response from it. And one of my previous customers, who'd already has one of my 2-bore muzzle-loading rifles, decided he got to handle it a little bit when I was on my way to a show, and I stopped by his place, and he decided he wanted one. And it started out that he wanted a single shot like the first one I built, and somewhere along the way he decided that he really wanted to upgrade to a side-by-side. And I built several side-by-sides, both muzzleloaders and some cartridge guns over the years. And so I decided to take on this project. But to the best of my knowledge and all the research I've done, I've never ever seen a side-by-side 2-bore cartridge gun done. Not that there isn't historical accuracy for that stuff. There's a lot of, several 4-bore side-by-sides that have been done over the years, and more than a few Jones Underlevers have been built. So this isn't outside of my purview per se, but it is something that's kind of unique in itself. And I thought, since this was going to be a very unique build for my shop, that I'd also give people kind of an idea of what I do. Besides the documented builds that I put on my website and on various forums, most people never really get to meet me or see me, so to speak. Very few of my customers actually come to my shop, and so I thought with this build I'd try and do a lot of video documentation of it, as well as the pictures and written documentation that I've done in the past. So this is going to be kind of a unique experience for me, as well as hopefully for my customers and the audience that just likes to follow along with the stuff I build. And like I said, most of my customers never actually get to meet me in person, so this is kind of different this way. At least people know what I look like from here out, and they'll get to see how this is done kind of step by step. And with a little bit of video podcasting, I'll be able to fill in some details that are hard to fill in written form, so to speak. So hopefully I'll be able to cover this build and document it really well. I will also be providing a picture documentation and the written documentation like I have on my other builds. But so I guess without any real further ado, I'll give you a brief tour of my shop. It's not particularly fancy. My equipment is all manual machines. I don't have any CNC equipment. I do all my drafting the old-fashioned way. I use just pencil and paper and go from there. And so there's a lot of hours tied up in a lot of the stuff I do. Not that I have anything against CNC equipment. I would love to own some myself, to tell you the truth. I just don't have the funding for it, and I also don't have the knowledge or skill to operate it. So it's one of those things that I work with what I have, and most of the tooling and stuff I use is tooling that you would have found 100, 150 years ago. And so I build most of my guns the old-fashioned way, one piece at a time on manual machines, and then they get hand-fitted with files and scrapers and just a lot of old-fashioned hand work. I'm going to give you a brief tour of the shop and show you the highlights of the project, and we'll go from there. So this is my office. What you're looking at here is my drafting table, and my drafting tool is up against the wall and on the back there. Now, my office also serves as my reloading bench. Has a fairly substantial library, mostly gun books on that side. I have a huge library of other books on the back wall. And then on this side over here is my basic office space, computer, it's where I answer my emails and all the stuff that I get. Use a drill press for sharpening my engraving. This room also happens to be where I do my engraving and checkering. Over here is my engraving bench. Got a nice ball vise that I built. Use a Lindsay palm graver, or a classic foot control graver, and I have a little pantograph for doing some lettering and stuff for layout work before I cut it with a hand engraver. I also have a stand-up vise that's back in this other corner over here that I use for doing barrel work and whatnot. And there's a checkering cradle hiding behind the chair there as well. So I get quite a bit of work done in this little room here. So I headed out of my office here. This basically is my woodworking side of my shop. Pretty basic tools, little bandsaws, planers, sanders, grinders, drill press. Nothing real fancy, just plain and basic tools. This is where I do most of my woodworking. You'll notice it's pretty much the same things you'd see in just about any gun shop. A nice set of chisels, some basic tools. I do keep another computer out here. I'm slowly integrating my shop to where I can have live webcams over my benches and my machinery. At some point I'd like to kind of run a live shop, like a TV channel more or less, so that it ran, anytime I'm in my shop and I'm working, people can see what I'm doing and they have, an idea of what a gun shop looks like from day to day. Enter into my metalworking side of my shop. Nothing particularly fancy in here either. Pretty basic tools, bandsaws, some buffers, grinders. A lot of times when I'm doing like casting and reloading and stuff, I'll open the big doors, pull that table outside and do most of my casting work outside. Keeps it from having to have ventilation issues. Built my own heat treat furnace. Nothing real fancy about it either. The controller's made by Budget Casting Supplies. The box and the furnace and everything I built myself. Big enough to do just about anything that I'd ever want to heat treat. Down below it I also have a Lincoln TIG welder. That's what I use for most of the gun work. Grinders and sanders. A few buffing wheels. Another gun project in the works, metalworking bench. You can tell that it's a pigsty, but I used to have 2 apprentices, but my boys grew up over time, and I don't have a lot of time to stop and clean because I'm constantly trying to get stuff done, and cleaning is one of the last things I think about. Unfortunately, it just collects and piles up over time, and since I don't have any apprentices in here to sweep up after me and take care of the messes I make, it just kind of sits there until I find a few minutes to scrape it all off and clean it all up, and that happens about once a month usually if I'm doing real good. And then in here is basically my machining room. I try to keep it a little separate from everything else because I'm not real fond of chips flying all over my shop, and so this kind of keeps it contained in a smaller room. Benchtop mill, nothing fancy, it's an import. A little bit of work to it, made it real nice and rigid. It sits real solid, makes real nice cuts. As long as you keep it within its limitations, it's a good machine. And my mill goes pretty much hand in hand with my lathe. This is an older Grizzly G4003. It's big enough to do 99% of the work that I do. That's the basic tour of my shop, and we'll go back over to the office and have a real close look at the drafting table, and I'll show you the drawings that are laid out for the 2-bore that I'm going to start here in a few weeks. This is the basic overview of the 2-bore. The monoblock, the forearm hanger, shot of the action, a couple other views of the top and bottom of the action, the underlever, and we'll back out a little bit here and see if we can get a good shot of the 2-bore itself. Basically what you're looking at is the specs were basically laid out by the customer. The barrels are 29 inches long. The bore is 1/310, and the groove diameter is 1 inch 326 thousandths, and it's a 1 in 48 twist, which should shoot the round balls that it's primarily made for, but it also should shoot the brass turned bullets that S&H makes, as well as a paradox bullet that NEI did for my last customer. They have a mold, chariot and mold already set up for a paradox style bullet that should shoot fairly well in it. I haven't gotten any reports from my customer on the single shot 2-bore to see how they're shooting, but he tells me that the round balls shoot really great out of it, so out of the single shot. So I'm hoping that everything works out the same with this side by side. You can tell that this is going to be a monstrous action here. The breeches on this thing are going to be 4 inches wide, and you can see that I'm going to try and slim the action body down to get it down to a usable size by you know, overhanging the water table a bit on each side and trying to taper things in and reinforce them where I have to. This will use the standard S&H 2-bore cartridge, 700 grain max capacity of 2F black powder. This is going to have a maple stock on it that'll be stained to meet the customer specifications. The taper and profile of the barrels was decided on by the customer. He didn't want a slim taper on them. He wanted them as, you know, a long barrel with a heavy taper on it, so there isn't very much taper laid out in these, and when I actually turn the blanks down on the lathe, they're going to be pretty easy to turn, I think, because I'm not going to take very much off of them. This will be a monoblock design, as I mentioned just a second ago. It'll be, you know, 2 barrels threaded into the same monoblock, and then the monoblock will be contoured and shaped. And it's Jones Underlever, obviously, so it'll have a very strong locking action, and it'll be an extractor instead of an ejector. So really pretty simple for an old school gun, you know, pre-1898 all the way around, which makes it nice and easy. No FFL requirements on that stuff. And the locks on this, of course, I'll have to build most of it myself. I'm going to scavenge some parts out of some L&R back action locks, but then I'm going to remodel them and turn them into, you know, a real fine-tuned lock. But these locks are going to have inertia pin interceptors on the tumblers, and they're also going to have stocking safeties, because one thing about a 2-bore, you definitely do not ever want this thing to double on you. And so I'm going to build a couple of different safety systems into it to make sure that it, you know, the possibility of the gun doubling from recoil or slip of a finger is never going to happen. Because quite frankly, a pound of lead and 1,400 grains of powder is more than most men that I know can handle. Matter of fact, I've not met one yet that could probably shoot that from the shoulder without serious physical injury. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that mechanically the gun is as sound as can be. You'll notice in these pictures that there's no firing pins indicated in any of these. The reason for that is when I built the single shot, the angle, the inclusive angles that it took to get the firing pins to line up with primers and striker and a hammer and everything was pretty steep, and so it was kind of glancing the primers, and it didn't work as well as I wanted it to. And so I really haven't decided yet just exactly how I'm going to do this. Of course, the hammers and firing pins will be more center line with the actions, because the barrels will hang over this time, so I might do it basically the same way, just with a straight angle this time, or I might change it up a little bit and see if I can get more of a direct line hit, since the hammers can actually be set down a little lower than the action and whatnot if I need to. But yeah, that's why there's no firing pins indicated on these drawings yet, is because I just haven't decided exactly how I'm doing that. This will be a left-handed gun. The customer that ordered this is left-handed. It'll be a left-handed gun built to his measurements. It'll be basically an English-style gun, have a pancake-style cheek piece on it, some basic semi-flat top checkering. The forearm will be held on with an escutcheon, and the sights will be, you know, NECG express sights, the 3-leaf folding. And then the front side I'll build myself, and then the rest of the parts, all of it will be machined in my shop, basically. So that's the basic overview of the 2-bore side-by-side Jones Underlever black powder cartridge rifle. I'm going to humbly call it the Double Deuce. And it'll be probably 2 to 3 weeks before I start the actual build on this. It'll be sometime the first part of October, might even be a month. I've got a few other things to finish up around here before I get this actually started and underway. But I just thought I'd give you guys a little preview, give you a tour of my shop, and show you what it's going to look like, and look forward to giving you the next presentation in 3 or 4 weeks.